In just 9 minutes, discover the most powerful insights from Chris Williamson's conversation with Charles Duhigg. Learn the hidden habits of supercommunicators, how to ask better questions, listen more effectively, and make every conversation meaningful. Stay till the end to unlock the secrets of connecting with anyone, anywhere. Here are the key takeaways from the podcast. Takeaway 1. Communication is a skill, not a talent. Many people believe that communication should come naturally, but that is not true. Great communicators are not born. They develop their skills through practice. Communication is like playing a sport or learning an instrument. The more you practice, the better you get. Some of the best communicators started as people who struggled to connect with others. Over time, they learned techniques to improve their conversations. They became better at asking questions, expressing their thoughts clearly, and making people feel heard. For example, a person who was shy in high school might later become an excellent public speaker by practicing how to hold a conversation, paying attention to social cues, and refining their ability to tell engaging stories. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. Introverts can be great communicators too. Extroverts seem to have an advantage in social situations, but communication is not about being naturally outgoing. It is about building good habits. Introverts often struggle in group settings, but they can be amazing communicators in one-on-one conversations. The difference between introverts and extroverts is not just personality, but the amount of practice they get. Extroverts tend to have more social interactions, which gives them more opportunities to refine their skills. However, introverts can become just as skilled by focusing on their strengths, such as deep listening and thoughtful responses. For example, an introvert who avoids social events can still improve their communication by having more personal conversations with close friends or practicing through online discussions where they feel more comfortable expressing themselves. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3. Ask deep questions to connect. One of the biggest differences between average communicators and supercommunicators is the ability to ask meaningful questions. Supercommunicators ask 10 to 20 times more questions than the average person. More importantly, they ask deep questions that go beyond small talk. A deep question does not have to be complicated. It simply invites someone to share their values, experiences, or emotions. This makes the conversation feel more personal and engaging. For example, instead of asking a lawyer, "What kind of law do you practice?" you could ask, "What made you decide to become a lawyer?" The second question allows the person to share their story and passion, making the conversation much more interesting. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4. Prove that you are listening. Many people think that being a good listener means staying silent while the other person talks. But true listening is more than that. It is about proving to the other person that you understand and care about what they are saying. One powerful technique is called looping for understanding. This means repeating back what someone has said in your own words and then asking if you understood correctly. This makes people feel heard and valued. For example, if a friend says, "I feel like my boss does not appreciate my work," instead of just nodding, you could say, "It sounds like you feel unrecognized for your hard work. Is that right?" This shows that you are not just hearing their words, but actually processing their emotions. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5. Use vulnerability to build trust. Many people believe that vulnerability means sharing deep emotional struggles, but in reality, vulnerability is simply about being open and real in conversations. It means sharing something that others could judge, but choosing to do so anyway. When you are vulnerable, you give the other person an opportunity to respond with kindness and understanding. This builds trust and deepens connections. For example, if you admit, "I sometimes feel nervous speaking in meetings," the other person might respond with, "I feel the same way." This creates an instant bond because both people see each other as real and relatable. We're halfway through the video. Thank you for sticking with us this far. If you're enjoying it, please give us a thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to comment below. To see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. Match the type of conversation. Every conversation falls into one of 3 categories. Category 1. Practical conversations like solving a problem. Category 2, emotional conversations like sharing feelings. Category 3, social conversations like discussing relationships or society. If two people are having different types of conversations at the same time, they will struggle to connect. For example, if a husband complains about a stressful day and his wife responds with logical advice instead of emotional support, he may feel unheard. A better response would be, "That sounds really frustrating. I can understand why you are upset." This matches the emotional conversation instead of shifting it to a practical one. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. The secret to charisma is making others feel interesting. People often think that charisma is about being funny, confident, or entertaining. In reality, charismatic people make others feel valued. They do this by asking questions that make people open up and share interesting parts of their lives. For example, instead of telling an impressive travel story, a charismatic person might say, "What is the most unforgettable trip you have ever taken?" This makes the other person feel like the star of the conversation. The best communicators focus less on being interesting and more on making others feel important. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. Small talk does not have to be boring. Most people dislike small talk because it feels shallow and repetitive. But small talk can become meaningful if you know how to steer the conversation in an interesting direction. Instead of asking generic questions, try to ask something that invites a personal response. For example, if someone mentions the weather, instead of saying, "Yes, it is really hot today," ask, "What is the most extreme weather you have ever experienced?" This small change makes the conversation much more engaging. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9. Couples should fight in a productive way. Every couple argues, but the difference between happy couples and unhappy couples is how they handle conflicts. Some couples let small arguments turn into huge fights by bringing up past issues or unrelated topics. A common mistake is kitchen sinking, where one argument turns into a fight about everything. Instead, couples should set boundaries and focus only on the issue at hand. For example, if the argument is about where to spend the holidays, do not bring up financial stress or past family drama. Stick to the main topic and work toward a solution together. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10. Online communication is changing how we interact. Social media has changed the way people communicate, often highlighting extreme opinions and making it harder for people to connect. In real life, people show many sides of themselves, but online, they are often reduced to a single label. This makes real conversations even more important. When talking to someone in person, focus on finding common ground rather than differences. For example, if you meet someone who has different political beliefs, instead of debating immediately, ask about their hobbies or interests. Finding shared experiences makes it easier to have respectful discussions about differences later. These 10 insights from Charles Duhigg's conversation with Chris Williamson show that communication is not about natural talent. It is a set of skills that anyone can learn. By asking better questions, proving that we listen, and making others feel valued, we can all become super communicators and build deeper connections in every area of life. Charles Duhigg is a journalist, speaker, and author. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, please leave a like below and share this video in your WhatsApp groups. You can also discuss about this video by commenting below. To get more such videos in your timeline, press the subscribe button below.